right, here we are back again. Bill Ingram, Randy Zellea, the Hardwood Huddle. New NBA season right around the corner. Media day this upcoming Monday. So why not have the guys back together, get the band back together, talk a little NBA. I am Randy Zellea from backsportspage.com. And with me is the basketball master. He is our Jedi Knight. He is the one and only Bill Ingram. Bill, what's up, buddy?
And ready to blow the dust off. Been so focused on baseball season with my Astros. Yeah. Being the best team in baseball and all that, it's been distracting, but I see your Yankees. See, I didn't wear my Astro sweatshirt. I wore my Mavs shirt in deference to covering their media day on Monday, because that'll be fun. But I got to tell you, that talk about blowing the dust off. Media day, I haven't done one of those in a while.
It's like you almost have to unretire your recorder and like what to do and everything. Yeah, it's gonna be something else.
Yep.
You know what's funny is you look at this NBA offseason. I think we spoke the last time was right about the time the Kevin Durant trade stuff just came out, and you look at the turn of events that has happened during the offseason since then. Durant rescinding the trade request, Kyrie's in, so you know what Brooklyn's going to be doing. Donovan Mitchell making a trade. First, he didn't want the trade. Now he's coming out telling you personally saying, yo, dude, I'm good. And then you have the drama with the Lakers and will the Clippers be healthy? The Milwaukee Bucks sort of standing pat with what they're doing. And then, of course, the news, as we tape this, it is Thursday night. The 22nd, again, Monday is media day. The Celtics situation just broke a couple hours ago that their the defending Eastern Conference champion head coach may not be with the team at all this year. So, and of course, the situation out in Phoenix as well. So, Bill, if you had to grade the overall NBA offseason here, what do you think you would give it at this point?
It's not one that really stood out to me. It was more about the things that didn't happen than the things that did. The Lakers, obviously desperate to get something done. They did not want to start the new season with Russell Westbrook on the roster, although he was their best player last year. Let's not forget to mention that. The whole thing with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, which is always just bizarre. Much ado about nothing. They're going to start the season together, and Ben Simmons, we'll see what that group can be. But it seems like most of the headlines were about things that didn't wind up panning out. And it's one reason why I've always had an objection to teams airing their laundry instead of doing things behind closed doors. Even the leak of Ime Udoka's situation in Boston, it was leaked with no details, and then it spawned all this speculation about who the girl was, and one staff member from the team was getting a bunch of negative press. It wasn't her. It's very irresponsible. Teams need to handle their business behind closed doors. And then when something doesn't happen, it's not a story because it wasn't a story to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know as far as the on the court news that did not happen. Like we were all speculating that Kevin Durant was wearing 19 different uniforms at one point across the league. It's just the way it is.
Well, it's embarrassing. I tell you what, I love Sean Marks' decision to just stand pat. I mean, look, you got to say to Kevin Durant, this is your bed. You made this bed. We got you the player you wanted to play with. We got you the coach you wanted. You wanted Harden gone. He's gone. We brought you a healthy and all-world defender who's not going to need the ball. We've built this team around you. If you can't win here, you're just not going to win. I mean,
well, you know what, though? And there's the one thing that a lot of people have not talked about with the situation in Brooklyn. And I think this is fair. Whether it's been injuries or player personnel, don't get me wrong, those two guys have had their hand in it. But they've also had a string of bad luck with injuries and there's just catastrophic things working against them. Look, you and I both said they would have been better off keeping LeVert and Jared Allen and not making that deal for Harden and mortgaging the house for it.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, and look, you ended up getting Ben Simmons back. If you get half of what Ben Simmons was in Philadelphia, it's a win. I think, don't get me wrong, I think Ben Simmons is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, wanting to play well. But I also think the teams are going to dare, okay, we'll take risk of leaving Ben Simmons' guy is going to leave to do the double on Kyrie and Durant. We're going to let Ben Simmons beat us. But
yeah, the thing is, he can't double Kyrie and Durant. You got to choose.
well, but not only that, but like you and I think I don't know if you and I had the opportunity to talk about it, but you look at that lineup now. You have Kyrie, who obviously, when his head is on the right spot, he can be one of the top 10 best players in the league.
For sure.
But you also have Seth Curry. You also have Joe Harris, who's going to be back. You have Kevin
Great.
Durant, who's going to be able to score in bunches. I think the only thing that they're missing is the one thing they had a lot of last year was front court depth, where you had Blake Griffin, you had LaMarcus Aldridge, you had, you had, was it It was Carlson, yeah. You had those guys, but now you just have one, and then you look at the improvement they need to do on their roster. I don't think Griffin has signed anywhere yet at this point. I just think they need to add depth on the front line. They're going to have enough shooting. That's not going to be the problem. But it's funny. We just gave that lineup of those four guys. We didn't even mention Ben Simmons' name. So that to me is the crazy part of that whole situation. And
he's the icing on the cake. If he comes back and can play like pre-Philadelphia, pre-meltdown Ben Simmons, they're going to be tough. Really tough.
Yeah. Just let's stick in the Eastern Conference for a little bit. I don't think there's much to say about the defending champions besides the coach situation, but that's not an on-court issue. That's an off-court issue. They added Danilo Gallinari, and then he gets hurt, and they added Brogdon as well. Yep. But I'm looking at their team, and were they a situation last season of a team that just got hot at the right time? Because you look at their lineup, it doesn't seem like you have the three-headed monster with Smart, Tatum, and Brown, and the same cast of characters. Oh, but Robert Williams doesn't want to start the season on time. He's going to have surgery. He elected now to have that off-season surgery. Didn't make any sense.
Boneheaded. I don't think it's a team that got hot at the right time. I think you've got three legit star caliber players, and Jason Tatum. This is what has to happen for Boston to get back to the finals. Jason Tatum has to take that experience of the ass kicking he took. That's a lot of pressure, man. There is no pressure like the NBA finals, especially when you are looked upon as the star player, the franchise guy. And Jason Tatum is that guy. And there were a lot of times last season where he showed it and you're like, yes, this is okay. Tatum has arrived. Then you get to the NBA finals and he went, what? Like, hey, so many players have done that. So many great players have choked the first time they get to the finals. The question is now, year two, now that you've been there and you're back now, have you taken that perspective and turned a page and gone even one step greater? Because that's what Tatum needs to do, to be on the level with Steph Curry, to be on the level with Antetokounmpo, to be on the level, the great players in the league. You have to go, okay, I lost. Now this year, you talk about the chip on the shoulder. That's got to be Tatum. He's got to come out wanting to own it. And if he does, Boston's in great shape. I don't care who the coach is.
I hope Jaylen Brown's feelings are healed after what happened.
I hope they're hurt. I hope their butt hurt. I hope he comes out pissed off that his name, and there again, why do you leak these things? It's detrimental to the team. It's detrimental to the players. It's detrimental to the players' families. Nothing is gained by leaking that stuff to Sharms and Wojciechowski, blah, blah, blah. Why? I've never understood why you don't let the beat writer, your local guy should be the guy to break a story when there's a story and not until there is a story.
Well, that's social media one-on-one, but you also look at it now too. You said that with Jaylen Brown and that type of situation, it's going to be very interesting with what's going to happen with Boston. We're going to monitor it and see where we are. We're going to have somebody down there. We'll have somebody there on Monday to give us the coverage take on it. Two other teams we got to talk about: the Miami Heat. Losing PJ Tucker, you and I both said that was sort of like a golden signing last year, and he signed a 2-year deal with a 1-year opt out. And Now he's in Philadelphia. Miami, I feel like, is on borrowed time now with that lineup that they have. They're just not going to be. They're now that team is just a year older. Jimmy Butler is a year declining, and now it's just I don't see it. I see them being the number 1 seed all the way back down to being like the number 4 or 5 seed maybe.
I was on the bandwagon last year, man. I thought it was Miami's. I thought adding Kyle Lowry was a big win for them. You couldn't predict that Kyle's game would drop off. He's at that age, unfortunately, where players sometimes, man, that year Akeem played in Toronto. It's like Carol Dawson, was then the GM of the Rockets, and he told me, I begged him to retire. Please stop. You're done. You just don't realize it yet. And then Akeem signed that contract with Toronto, and it was bad.
Disastrous. It was disastrous. No, that wasn't even bad. That was disastrous.
That's kind of what we saw with Lowry. Now, granted, Akeem needed back surgery really badly, and he opted not to have it. It would have been a terrible surgery. Probably couldn't have played, and that was a contributing factor. But Kyle, it's that age thing. It catches all of us, man. No matter how good you are, sooner or later, the Grim Reaper of age comes for you. And last year we saw him come for Kyle Lowry, and I think that window last year was the window for them. And now, especially losing, PJ Tucker's not a game changer. He's a game changer, but not in a franchise player kind of way.
Right.
Losing him is additional pain on what was already kind of a tough situation.
Yeah, I always say that PJ Tucker is the type of guy. He's the garnish on the steak. He's not not the main dish. He's the garnish, and they're gonna miss him. They're gonna miss that toughness. 2 other teams here in the East you have to keep your eye on. Obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers picking up Donovan Mitchell.
Absolutely.
That puts them right in the top 4. That puts them right in the top 4, maybe even the top 3 in the East. I think they might be better than Milwaukee.
That was the comment I was making on Twitter when Damian replied to me and said, man, I'm actually happy here. Because I was telling Tracy Graven was tweeting about it. And I said, man, it's too bad that we're hearing that Mitchell's not happy in Cleveland, because what an incredible situation for him.
Yeah.
That team could be really good. And that's when he responded and said, Bill, don't believe all that stuff, perfectly happy. I love Cleveland. They've got front court, they've got back court, they've got veteran experience, they've got youth and vigor, and all the ingredients are there. And you've got a good coach who I believe will show that that's all going to come together nicely for them.
Again, we talk about Brooklyn being in that upper elite class of the Eastern Conference with Boston. You have to put Cleveland in that conversation. Hey, there's no guy with the last name of James involved in that too. So that's the amazing part. Good and a good job on their part. The other two teams, obviously in the Eastern Conference, got to keep your eye on the Milwaukee Bucks, who made really no offseason upgrades. You and I have said
health was their only.
Right, but the thing is, Middleton and you and I have been saying Middleton and Holiday they're not Robins. They're Alfred and Lucius.
Yeah.
And Lucius.
Right, Lucius Fox. That's right. Yeah,
Lucius Fox and the and Alfred. Meanwhile, Robin is nowhere to be found. Where's Robin? I just don't see it with Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is in that 5 or 6 spot now, where maybe you even have to go through a play-in situation, because those guys are older. Giannis obviously is one of the greatest players in the league right now.
Probably number 2. Yeah.
You know what, though? I'm still not sold until. Yeah, I think he needs to develop that jump shot, that mid-range jumper.
I got Steph and Luka are 1 and 2. Maybe not in that order this year.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about where LeBron fits in that conversation still, but before we get there, and then you still have the Atlanta Hawks too, with adding Devontae Murray to add help to Trae Young. This is now going into the second time where the Hawks have sort of revamped their roster to try and give Trae help, and it seems like it's not working too well.
Thing about DeJounte Murray, I'm going to be really interested to watch his game, because he claims that Popovich's system was holding him back. He's not, and LaMarcus Aldridge said the same thing when he was there. Pop's system is not designed to spotlight one guy and let that one guy show off. Even when they had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, it wasn't just one. Even though Tim was the best,
it was total team.
It was very much a team concept, and Murray had some awfully big things to say about himself in the exit from San Antonio and how he's just so good and he's too good for the. Okay, let's see, because now you're in a situation where the Hawks need you to be that good.
Yeah,
let's see. Let's go, man. I'd get me some popcorn and sit me down. I'm ready to watch and see just how good he's going to be.
Again, are you Batman? Are you Robin? Or are you Lucius? Or are you Alfred? And that's really what it comes down to. Or are you Commissioner Gordon? What are you doing?
Right. Even Trae Young. Trae Young puts up great numbers, but he hasn't figured out winning yet. And there's a difference. Certainly, the most famous person that had to learn that, Michael Jordan, man, he'd come out and drop 50, they'd lose. He had to figure out team. Hakeem, I will never forget when Hakeem figured out team. There was a stretch in 1993, Don Chaney was the head coach, and he missed a whole bunch of games, and the Rockets kept winning without him. And when he came back, he told Don Chaney, I'll come off the bench. You guys are doing great. I don't want to interfere with the winning ways that, and of course, Chaney said, there's no way you're coming off the bench. But that was when Hakeem learned the value of passing, the value of trusting your teammates. It's an important lesson for a young player to learn. And I don't know if Trae Young,
there's a couple players in the league who need to learn that lesson. I honestly think that Embiid needs to learn that lesson. That brings us a great segue to Philadelphia. But I look at Philly, man, and I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying Harden and Embiid, and now apparently they're doing Rockets East with PJ Tucker there, and I'm looking at that team and I'm sitting there going, man, I am like, maybe it's just me. I'm just down on Philly. I just don't see it.
I don't either, and the number one reason why is James Harden is there, and James Harden has not been a positive. The last thing he did for Houston was run off Chris Paul. That was when the Rockets began rebuilding, even though it was another year before they officially dumped everything. But when you run off Chris Paul, one of the great playmakers in the game, who then immediately took his team to the finals, that's James Harden is not somebody. You talk about team culture, and you look at the fact that the rules changed and Harden didn't adjust his game to account for some of those rules changes, especially regarding traveling and how you draw a foul and the things that his game benefited from. And he was not able to look at tape, or didn't try. I don't know. Maybe he was in a strip club that night, but he didn't look at tape and analyze.
He didn't know how to use the iPad. I just think remember to hit the play button. What?
Because the great players adjust. Olajuwon redefined his game every night. Jordan, Kobe, the great players would take what was coming, rules changes, offense, defense, all the things that changed, and they would adjust. And Harden didn't adjust, and he too is past his prime. And I think we're at a point where that team is built as if Harden was MVP Harden, and Embiid, he is an MVP candidate. He's an amazing player, but Tobias Harris. I would almost, if I could trade James Harden for Seth Curry, I'd have a much better feeling about Philadelphia because I think Tobias Harris can play the Robin role. I think Tucker, Embiid, but with James Harden, you've got a guy.
You just don't know what you're getting. Yeah, you don't know.
I have no faith in him. I don't have faith in him off the court. There's going to be stuff he's doing that is detrimental to the team, and I don't have faith in his decision-making on the court either.
No, definitely not. And then you had the play-in teams from last year and the teams that are, I guess, not in our discussion, like a team like the Charlotte Hornets. They're interested in making some moves to help give more help for LaMelo Ball. Apparently, Gordon Hayward is not a solid number 2 for them. I would never have seen that coming. So with that being said, sorry to all the Hornets fans that are going to be watching. I really do love their franchise. But
I do too. I'd love for them to be good. The other thing, you got the Michael Bridges situation.
Yeah, the Knicks are not going to do anything for you. And of course, I'm saying this as I'm on the cusp of going to the Knicks camp, and I'm like, "Oh, send over your latest podcast." No, you guys are not doing anything this year.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's no mystery. I don't think
no.
that's a mystery to anybody.
Well, but you know what the thing is with the New York Knicks right now, though, is you have to pick a direction. Are you going towards your youth, or you want to keep on bringing veterans in to try to be competitive now? It's okay to add for a few years and develop talent and keeping talent together than to try to keep mortgaging the future every 3 years to try and get a winning team in that moment. I understand that the NBA usually seems a little bit more lively and excited when the Knicks are good. But at the same time, look, we're talking about this team in the last, since the 2000-2001 season. I actually looked this stat up, Bill, and it is scary. They have won a total of one playoff series. One playoff series since the 2000-2001 series. And they've only made the playoffs 5 times.
Yep. And it won't be this year.
And it's not going to be this year.
They make they make decisions. Look, Jalen Brunson's a nice player. Here I am. He was great for Dallas because he played with Luka. Jalen Brunson is not Batman. He's just not. And you paid him. You treated him the way they pursued him. It was like they were pursuing LeBron, or they were, like they're pursuing Michael Jordan. That's not who Jalen Brunson is. He's a nice player. He's too small. They wanted to put him with Damian Mitchell. In a backcourt league, you want the two smallest guys. Like Damian Mitchell needs to make that, or Donovan Mitchell needs to make that transition to point guard. Really, in my opinion, to be effective, he has court vision. You can't play two guys that small. You can't start them in the backcourt. You're going to get killed every night.
It doesn't make any sense. And like they're still planning on featuring Julius Randle. They gave R.J. Barrett a lot of money during the offseason. They have some guys who are going to be giving money to like Quickly and I'm looking at their lineup and I'm like, there's nothing here. Look, Thibodeau has a way of bringing out the best in guys and get them to run through a wall for him. But at the same time, I don't know if this is going to work out well. Other teams on the bottom half, obviously the Orlando Magic, the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons. Detroit seems like they're trying to really make a lot of moves. I'm interested to see the next act of Cade Cunningham, to see what he's able to do this year. Didn't win Rookie of the Year last year, so I want to see how he develops. The Toronto Raptors, another team we really haven't discussed, and they made a lot of noise last year too. Another year, Scotty Barnes going into his second year. Can he recover from the injuries? I think
I love Siakam. I love Siakam. I mean, what a that's a great. He's another one. If he can take the next step, he's going to win you some ball games. They just don't. They don't have the pieces around him yet.
I'm just wondering if Siakam can be a real number one. That's the real question.
That's the question. Is he?
Yeah.
That's what the Raptors. The big question for the Raptors is he the guy? Is there another step that he's going to take this year developmentally? He's still young. Is he got another notch to kick it into? And if he does, Toronto is going to be interesting. And if he doesn't, you're in that also ran category where you probably make the playoffs and then you're not there for very long.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I agree with that totally. Obviously, when we go more into our NBA previews, we're going to invite the staff writers from backsportspage.com to come on and break down their teams. And obviously, we'll discuss Orlando and Indiana and some of these other teams a little bit more, the ones that were on the outside looking in. Let's give a quick, brief shot at the West real quick. I look around the league and in the Western Conference. I look around that Western Conference, and a team I think everyone's got to watch out for is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. If Zion Williamson can return and be able to contribute, you have CJ McCollum there, you have Brandon Ingram there. You have a nice team that can compete and possibly climb up and get out of the play-in round.
I was talking about them earlier on Twitter. I said if I believed in Zion Williamson, I would put them right there with Dallas and Golden State and maybe Memphis as the best teams in the conference. The thing is, Zion, I hate to say this, but it's just as likely that he's going to come out and get injured again and miss a whole bunch more games. And I only say that because in the league, we have seen talented big men who have feet problems, miss a bunch of games, come back, miss a bunch more games, come back, miss a bunch, and they never. I mean, Yao Ming is one of the more recent examples of this. They just never seem to get it going. And at this point, Zion Williamson needs to have a really good season. He needs to play a lot of games and put up big numbers. If he does, the Pelicans look great. But I've seen too many times Ralph Sampson, too many Greg Oden, Bill Walton. Like, it's too many guys that have those foot problems. I hope not. I hope that's not what happens. I hope, for the sake of those young guys, for the sake of Griff, for the whole organization, I hope he's healthy. I hope he lives up to the potential. Whew, but man, it's tough to bet on that.
I'm also looking forward to watching Grumpy Old Men. I mean, the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm
really looking. You can't get healthy.
Yeah. You have Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Patrick.
But
Beverly.
They got Schroeder back, man. Yeah. Schroeder's ready to go. He's ready to prove, like, Dennis said, let's go. Nobody understood me in Houston. Let's go.
Well, I'm like, the Lakers are going to be. It's going to be must see TV. Get the popcorn ready, or maybe not. Maybe we're saying it's must TV, or maybe it's going to be a horror movie. You just don't know. I think the wild card team in the Western Conference, like, might be the Clippers, just because you don't know what you're going to get of Kawhi and Paul George, and then you add John Wall to it, and then you still have Reggie Jackson there. You have a lot of fun things going on there with the Clippers. If fully healthy, top 3 team in the East, in the Western Conference. Injuries lag, we're looking back at play-in tournament type of thing.
Here's the thing: when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George when they signed to both of them, I wrote at the time that this is redundant. You've signed 2 of the same player.
Exactly.
They don't complement each other at all, and they never have. When they've both been healthy, that team doesn't look as good as when one or the other of those 2 guys has been injured. I'll say the same thing about Kawhi that I said about Zion. Man, he's missed a lot of games. I mean, he has missed a lot of games. Now, he's not a big man, but he misses a ton of games. How long is it going to take him to get his timing back? I'd be shocked if he steps on the court and makes an impact in the first 2 months, consistently. Will he have a game here and there? Yeah, probably. But then does he get hurt again? Some mystery injury that no one understands except his uncle, and nobody's really sure where he is. We think he's rehabbing. Is he? I don't know. Where's he been? That is tough. It's tough to build your team. It's tough to coach your team when you have a guy like that. And just like I said with James Harden, I wouldn't have Kawhi Leonard on my team. I want somebody who's all in, who's going to play through injuries, who is team first, who's here to win, and top priority is winning with this team, not some other agenda like Kyrie Irving. We don't know what his agenda is. He's not here. We don't know where his head is. He's in the game, but he sucks. What the hell's going on? We don't know. I don't think you can win with that going on, especially not when it's your star player.
Listen, Kawhi Leonard showing up to camp this week with a "Hello, my name is" name tag because nobody knows who he is. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
And so many guys on the team are going to be like, Kawhi, who? How do you say your first name? Kawhi.
2 other teams before we wrap up here. Obviously, we're not going to be able to dive into the whole West tonight. Man, did the Memphis Grizzlies put a target on their back going into this season? They came out of nowhere last year and sort of rocked the league. Now, 1, Murad's injuries. He has to be healthy. And 2, they're not going to be able to come out of nowhere and shock people this year.
That's it. Well, I think when Morant was injured, you saw the team step up, and that's great. That's what you want to see. You want to see the depth. You don't want to see a team just completely roll over when their best player goes down, because that's going to happen. Man, the rest of that team stepped up. They've got so many amazing pieces. I thought when they offered all those guys to New Jersey or to Brooklyn for KD, I was like, damn. But it was better for the long-term growth of the team that they didn't make that deal. So what you mentioned is perfect. This team, they're not coming as a surprise to anyone. In fact, they're going to they won't have the targets that Golden State has, but there will be targets. And how does a young team deal with that? How does, their composure is going to be huge. It's going to be a real crucible for Ja Morant, but I think that young man is up to the challenge. He's special. We've all seen it. And I believe there's no question he has another level that he's going to get to. And I think we'll see that this year. Is it good enough to get past Luka? Is it good enough to get past Steph? Maybe not, but they're going to be right there.
Yeah, they're going to be there. And the last team I think we'll dive into here, I don't know, maybe we'll do two more. We'll do the Phoenix Suns. Just again, I think that might be one of those things where it might be time to break up the band, make some sort of changes, because Devin Booker and Chris Paul, as a dynamic of a backcourt it is, Chris Paul's another year older, and Booker, when I look at him, I see a guy who can score in bunches. He reminds me, like, in that sense of not obviously not the strip clubs and all the other nonsense that James Harden does, but
No, not
I look
complete opposite.
I look at Booker and I look at him as a guy who he can score in bunches, but you just can't win the big one.
Yep, well, that could be, but you've got to be put back in that situation. And I think the big question is Chris Paul. I like Cameron Payne. He's one of the better backup point guards in the league. You can't start if you're going to get to the finals. He can't be your starter, not against the elite point guards that you're going to face. That's above his pay grade. If Chris Paul is healthy when the playoffs start, I love Phoenix. Is DeAndre Ayton going to play with the chip on his shoulder because he didn't get that max deal? My God, I wouldn't have given it to him anyway. It's not that league anymore. No. But if he got that chip on his shoulder, he's very capable of carrying a huge part of the offensive load. Unlike so many of the starting centers in the league today, he can do that. So do you lean on him a little bit more? It changes the dynamic of the team a little bit. It certainly opens up the court for Booker. You can't afford. I love there are some really good pieces there. The question is Chris Paul. He's the one. He's the difference between them being good and them being back in the finals. I don't see them getting there. I don't think he has that much gas left in the tank. He's not Kyle Lowry yet, but he also isn't Chris Paul that we've all loved for so many years.
Yeah, that's very true too. And I guess we're going to throw the last two out there. Obviously, the defending champion Golden State Warriors. Look, Clay is not Clay right now. Yep. I think maybe we have to look at, I'll use the football analogy like Saquon Barkley. He came back last season after injury, but he was very, very timid. Clay had every right to be timid. He got a little nervous. You saw signs of it. Hopefully this year we'll get normal Clay back and we'll be able to get there. The other thing, too, is for all the praise and all of the positive love that Steph Curry gets, he wasn't knocked down, drag out, lights out Steph Curry during the finals.
Jordan Poole took a lot of that.
Yeah, Jordan Poole. That was one of those things where you're sitting there saying, well, maybe Jordan Poole deserves the NBA Finals thing, but it's a lot sexier to give it to Steph Curry.
Well,
my question, yeah.
Steph Curry is the darling of the league. He's an amazing person off the court. He's an amazing person on the court. His family is great. Like, he's the guy you want to be the face of the league in every way possible. And that, I think, is such a strength for the Warriors. Who he is, what he represents, not only as a player, but as a person. But I do think Jordan Poole is going to have a whole lot to do with how far they get if they can get back to the finals.
I agree with you on that. And the other question, too, is whether James Wiseman's will be able to come back and be able to contribute to that team.
Factor at all.
Yeah.
Who are you? Are you ever going to play?
Well, he didn't even play last season. And I guess the final one, you're wearing the shirt, so let's talk about it. The Dallas Mavericks. I'm beginning, as great as Luka is as a player, and maybe we'll try and get Mark Followell back on before the season starts.
Sure. I'll talk to him on Monday.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he can come back on. I'm beginning, like right now, they've been trying to bring in a bunch of different second options with Luka. They brought in Kristaps Porzingis, which didn't work. They've had some other pieces in there that have not worked. Is Luka one of those guys where, it's hard to find that right mix for it? Is it a big man? Is it another guard? What do you need to pair Luka with to have that 1-2 punch? Because right now, I feel like it's like the Allen Iverson type of offense where it's the 1-4, guys just be ready to contribute where you need to, but the ball's going to be in my hands type of mentality. Your take on it?
If I could put any player in the league as his number 2, it would be Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, that would actually be a great
mix. Man, if you can put him they're on opposite sides of the court, and Brandon can take over a game when called upon and when put in that position, and Luka's going to do it most of the time. That being, obviously, that's pie in the sky. Yeah, good luck with that. But I love Spencer Dinwiddie. I think the whole thing with Jalen leaving and the Mavs were desperately trying to find another point guard, and I'm screaming, Mark, you've already got him. It's Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, you don't need it. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is coming back. He's healthy. And so the Mavs were forced to do what they never do, which is address their actual biggest need. The reason they lost to Golden State more than anything else was rebounding. Well, look what they did. They got Christian Wood. They got JaVale McGee. All of a sudden, they can bang. They can rebound. If Christian Wood will go, oh, wait, we're going to try to win now. He was brought to Houston to win, and then they traded the rest of the team, and then they criticized his play. Well, you brought him in to compete, and then he got left holding the flavor of the month stick in the bus league, right? Like Bull Durham. So I'm very interested. We know who JaVale McGee is. He's going to bang. He's going to board. I'm really interested to see what Christian Wood becomes with Jason Kidd in a winning situation with Luka. And look, Luka got the message about coming in out of shape. If you saw him in EuroLeague, this guy is ready to come be the man in all caps.
And a taste of almost getting to the finals keeps him motivated. And look, Dallas is going to be a team to watch. I think obviously Memphis and New Orleans are all teams to watch. The Lakers, it's just, you don't want to watch, but you can't help but stare.
You'd be watching them, but for the wrong reason.
Yeah. And obviously the Warriors are going to be must-see TV as well. Yep. So, Bill, good first show back. We've been away from it a long time. I was almost going to wear my hello, my name tag was, but we're going to be back a lot more often. We'll be back here actually next week, taping another episode. We'll be taping Thursdays or dropping Fridays or going live Thursdays. But next week we might have a guest or two, and we're getting ready for the 2022-2023 NBA season. Bill, feels good to be. It's like putting on an old pair of jeans. It just feels right. You know what I mean? It's
going to be like walking into American Airlines Center after several years away, where you're like, oh, the smell. I remember this. This is, oh yeah, okay.
And they're going to say, Mr. Ingram is back. Mr. Ingram is back. Get his normal table.
But
you see Mark Cuban's going to be waiting for you with open arms. Bill's back.
Certainly Rolando Blackman and Derek Harper will greet me like that. But
yeah, they're going to be like, did you ditch that co-host yet or what? So, all right, but we'll be back next week for Bill Ingram, the basketball master, to myself, Randy Zellea from backsportspage.com. This has been the Hardwood Huddle. We'll see you next week.